In the entire history of air combat, most fighter jets came and went without leaving a mark. They flew, they fought, and they were forgotten. But a handful of aircraft did something different. They did not just win battles. They rewrote the rules of what air power could do. These are the 15 most unbeatable fighter jets ever built, the ones that changed everything. Number 15. Hawker Hurricane. Britain built the Spitfire and got all the glory. The Hurricane did most of the work. During the Battle of Britain in 1940, Hurricane pilots shot down more German aircraft than every other British defence combined. Slower than the Spitfire, less glamorous, and completely essential. While Spitfires fought German fighters, the Hurricanes tore apart the bombers that were trying to level London. The jet nobody remembers, that saved the war, nobody could afford to lose. Number 14. Messerschmitt Bf 109. Germany built over 33,000 of these, and it became the most produced fighter aircraft in history. Spanish Civil War, Battle of Britain, Eastern Front, North Africa, every major air campaign of World War II had Bf 109s in it. The pilots who flew it included the highest scoring aces in the history of air combat. Erich Hartmann shot down 352 aircraft flying this jet, a record that has never been broken and almost certainly never will be. Number 13. P-51 Mustang. American long-range escort fighter that solved the problem nobody else could solve. How do you protect heavy bombers flying deep into Germany when your fighters run out of fuel halfway there? The P-51 had drop tanks and enough range to escort B-17s all the way to Berlin and back. Before the Mustang arrived, American bombers were being slaughtered over Germany. After it arrived, the Luftwaffe started losing the air war it had been winning. One aircraft changed the entire strategic bombing campaign. Number 12. MiG-15. American pilots flying piston-engine propeller aircraft over Korea in 1950 suddenly found themselves facing a swept wing jet fighter that outclimbed, outran, and outgunned everything they had. The MiG-15 was a genuine shock. Soviet engineers had taken a German wartime design, added a British jet engine that Britain had sold them, and built something that made American air power look suddenly obsolete. It forced America to rush the F-86 Sabre into combat and start an arms race that never really ended. Number 11. F-86 Sabre. America's answer to the MiG-15 and the aircraft that defined air-to-air combat in the jet age. The Sabre vs. MiG-15 dogfights over MiG Alley in Korea were the first jet versus jet battles in history fought at scale. American pilots claimed a 10-to-1 kill ratio. Soviet and Korean records suggest it was closer, but still heavily in American favor. The F-86 proved that pilot training mattered more than aircraft performance, and that lesson shaped American air doctrine for the next 70 years. Number 10. English Electric Lightning. Britain built this jet to intercept Soviet bombers and gave it performance that still seems impossible for 1954. It could climb faster than any aircraft in the world. Straight up. Vertically. From a standing start, it could reach 36,000 feet in under 3 minutes. RAF pilots called it the jet that flew like a rocket. It held the British airspeed record for years, and its climb rate was not beaten by any operational aircraft for decades. An aircraft so fast and so capable that pilots said flying, it felt like cheating. Number 9. MiG-21. More MiG-21s were built than any other supersonic jet in history, and they are still flying in dozens of air forces today. Designed in the 1950s, combat proven in Vietnam, the Middle East, Africa, South Asia, and every regional conflict from the 1960s onward. Vietnamese MiG-21 pilots used it to ambush American F-4 Phantoms that should have been able to destroy them with missiles before they got close. They got close anyway, and the results embarrassed the most powerful air force on Earth. Number 8. F-4 Phantom. America built this aircraft for the US Navy. the US Air Force, and the US Marine Corps simultaneously, and it became the dominant Western fighter of the 1960s. Over 5,000 built, flew in Vietnam, the Middle East, the Falklands, and Iran. Israeli F-4 pilots flew it in the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War. Iranian F-4 crews kept flying it against Iraq for years after America cut off spare parts. The aircraft that defined an era of air power and kept fighting long after everyone expected it to stop. Number 7. A-10 Thunderbolt. Every other aircraft on this list was built to be fast, stealthy, or high-flying. The A-10 was built to be slow, ugly, and impossible to kill. Titanium bathtub around the cockpit. Engines mounted high so ground fire cannot hit them both. Redundant hydraulic systems so the pilot can fly home with half the aircraft missing. And a 30mm Gatling gun that fires depleted uranium rounds fast enough to destroy a tank in seconds. In the Gulf War, A-10 pilots destroyed more Iraqi vehicles than any other aircraft. In Afghanistan, they became the aircraft ground troops asked for by name when everything went wrong. Number 6. Su-27 Flanker. When NATO pilots first saw footage of the Su-27 performing the Pugachev Cobra maneuver at the 1989 Paris Air Show, the room went quiet. An aircraft that could pitch its nose straight up while barely moving forward, bleed all its speed, then recover. A move that in a dogfight would make a pursuing enemy aircraft overshoot and become the target. Soviet engineers had built something that could outmaneuver anything NATO had in close combat. The Su-27 and its derivatives, the Su-30, Su-34, Su-35, became the backbone of Russian and Chinese air power, and the aircraft Western planners worried about most. Number 5. F-15 Eagle. America built the F-15 after Vietnam proved that missile technology was not good enough to replace the dogfight, and that American pilots needed a dedicated air superiority fighter. What they got was the most successful air combat aircraft in history. The F-15 has never been shot down in air-to-air combat, not once. Over 100 aerial kills across multiple conflicts and 0 losses to enemy fighters. Israeli F-15 pilots used it to dominate Syrian MiGs over Lebanon in 1982. American F-15 pilots cleared the sky over Iraq in 1991 before the ground war even started. An undefeated record across 40 years of combat. Number 4. F-16 Fighting Falcon. America designed the F-16 as a cheap, lightweight dogfighter and accidentally built one of the most versatile combat aircraft ever made. Over 4,600 built for 25 countries, used for air superiority, ground attack, nuclear strike, reconnaissance, and suppression of enemy air defenses. Israeli F-16 pilots flew it to destroy Iraq's nuclear reactor in 1981, in the longest strike mission ever attempted at the time. American F-16 pilots flew more sorties in the Gulf War than any other aircraft, a jet designed to be simple that ended up doing everything. Number 3. SR-71 Blackbird. This aircraft flew so fast that the only defense against a missile was to accelerate. Mach 3.2, over 85,000 feet altitude, so high that pilots needed pressure suits because the atmosphere was too thin to breathe. No SR-71 was ever shot down. Ever. Missiles were fired at it over 1,000 times across its operational career. Not one connected. By the time the missile reached where the SR-71 had been, the aircraft was already miles away. It flew reconnaissance missions over the most heavily defended airspace in the world and came home every single time. Number 2. F-117 Nighthawk. The aircraft that made radar obsolete. On the first night of the Gulf War, F-117 pilots flew into the most heavily defended airspace in the world and put laser-guided bombs through specific windows of specific buildings, while Iraqi air defense radar showed empty sky. 1,271 combat missions, 0 losses. The Nighthawk proved that stealth was not science fiction and forced every air force on Earth to rethink how air defense worked. After the F-117, nothing was ever the same. Number 1. F-22 Raptor. The most capable air superiority fighter ever built, and the aircraft no other country has been able to match. Stealth that makes it nearly invisible to radar. Supercruise engines that let it fly faster than sound without using afterburner. Thrust vectoring that lets it point its nose anywhere regardless of where it is flying. Sensors that see everything in the sky around it before anything can see it. In exercises against every other aircraft, America and its allies operate the F-22 wins so consistently and so decisively that the results are classified. The pilots who have flown against it in training call it the most unfair fight they have ever been in. No aircraft in history has combined stealth, speed, maneuverability, and sensor capability at this level. The F-22 is not just the best fighter jet ever built. It is the first aircraft that makes everything that came before it look like it belongs in a museum.